On the subject of the Kamala Harris soundbite where she said, we've got to be like the elephants to protect the most vulnerable.
Right.
The most vulnerable. The larger context of her remarks are about illegal immigration and what's being done right now to deport these alleged gang members. What's so insane is they are not the most vulnerable. We are the most vulnerable, in particular women and children who tend to be the victims of these gang members. People like Laken Riley down in Georgia, like Jocelyn Nangaro, 12-year-old down in Texas. We've seen the names in the media. Those are the most vulnerable. That's what Trump is trying to do, to protect the innocent Americans that are the prey of these people who are being deported. And I did ask Tulsi about the screening that's being done, because the Democrats would have you believe it's willy-nilly.
Right.
It's like you've got brown skin and the wrong tattoo, you're out. And she explained that they are identifying these Tren de Aragua and MS-13 and even Sinaloa cartel members, largely with the help of the DEA, which is up to its neck in gang information 501. They know who these guys are. They track them. They monitor them. All it needed was for somebody to call them up and say, who are they?
Right.
And where are they? And figure out which ones are foreign. They're not all foreign. And which ones are American. And on top of that, they have lengthy FBI investigations of these people. So I thought that was interesting too, that it is not just like, gee, you're brown, you're out. But there was news about their most famous poster boy, Abrego Garcia, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, yesterday, the one who Chris Van Hollen had margaritas with. It turns out this guy, we knew that he had been accused of beating his wife by his wife. Well, a second report came out of the same, more beatings, in which she sought a protective order, not just as previously reported in 2021, but earlier in August of 2020. She moved for a protective order back then. The details reveal a fight they had with this woman, his wife, alleging that he took her phone, demanded her car keys before flying into a rage. She went upstairs to cook breakfast for the kids, but he shut off the stove, locked the children in their bedroom. They were crying. She got her phone from the car, called 911. He locked her out of the house. He smashed her phone. She checked the boxes for acts of abuse, including kicking, slapping, shoving, mental injury of a child, detaining against one's will. She could hear the babies crying as he locked them in, and he was after her. Me and my kids are afraid now. He kicked me. He pushed me. He slapped me in the face. He threatened me. I have photos of all the bruises left in my body. Police came. He acted violent with them, broke my phone in front of them. I have a recording. He told my ex-mother-in-law that even if he kills me, no one can do anything to him. In March of 2020, we now find out. She said he pushed me against a wall. He broke a phone, a TV, and damaged the walls. November of 19, he grabbed me by the hair in the car. December of 19, he grabbed me by the hair in the car. He dragged me out of the car, leaving me in the street. And then she rescinded the motion for the protective order, as virtually all domestic violence abuse victims do. And on top of that, there's another document from 2018 where her ex, so this is Abrego Garcia's wife now, but in 2018, his girlfriend. She had an ex-husband. His name is Edwin Trejo Ramos. He's currently incarcerated in Maryland. So this is all a very nice crowd. But he, at the time, sought an emergency court hearing to get custody of his children with this woman, saying she tried to kill herself. She left the kids with an 11-year-old to take care of them, and I'm afraid of my kids' lives being in danger because, quote, she is dating a gang member, who was, at that time, we understand, Abrego Garcia. So this is the poster boy, the most vulnerable, Kamala Harris might say.
Yeah, so in this case in particular, to me, in a weird way, crystallizes some of like what I go through with like the politics, because I actually get to a degree the Democrat, now not him, and this is where I go on this, like for the Democrats and the guy from Maryland to fly down and meet with him and then make this guy the poster child, which I think most intelligent people can be like, this is a bad guy. He's not a citizen. I have no problem. I want him out.
Yeah,
that is what we want out of this country. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. If you're not an American citizen and you have this rap and this track record.
And you've been deported.
Yeah, like
he had an order of removal. They just said just not to El Salvador.
Now, so I agree with all that. So it to me, when I saw the Maryland guy going to, I'm like, why is this guy the guy you're going to take a stand for and fight for? Because we don't, like, he's a bad guy. But at the same time, all that research, I can understand it, even with something like this. If you hit You gotta bat 1,000 if you're gonna pick somebody and deport them. And if you just pick the wrong guy once with no due process, nothing, that's a major issue. Like, you append somebody, I don't even care. Say they're an illegal, but they're like a great person and they're actually contributing. To me, just picking them up, getting rid of them, that I'd have a problem with that. So,
but you want them to have a hearing.
Something due process. So where is that? The fact, like, I'm not sympathizing with the Democrats or the guy from Maryland, because you're using the poster child of what Trump ran on, and we want him out.
And he got a hearing.
Yes.
He got a hearing when we deported him the first time.
But when you're doing it en masse after, you just can't ever make a mistake. So I understand that logic a little bit, just not with this guy.
No, you're reflecting the view of most Americans, according to the latest polls, where they are in favor of Trump's plan, but they do want to see some due process.
And it's hard. And how do you do that with so many people and without one of the things about politics, it's not always the easiest thing to come up with like an answer, because you got to run a country and it's backed up. So what would happen? But the Democrats constantly like, okay, this is an issue. The logic behind it, but you're not being sincere when this is your poster child. Because take out politics. There's nobody. You see this story a lot. All right, you can do this. You can go meet with him. Do you want him to be your next door neighbor? Like, right. Do you want him to be your next door neighbor, or do you want him out of the country? If that was it, you're either living next door or he's deported. Everybody.
Do you want him on the trail when your 18-year-old daughter goes for a run by herself? Exactly.
And that's based on his rap sheet, nothing more, in the gang stuff. So that's where they lose me, because it's find me a way to make sure we can get 100%, but that guy is 100% based on the rap sheet, and why this is where they put their flag in the mud and
when the only dispute about this guy is the fact that he technically wasn't supposed to be deported to El Salvador, but he was ruled deportable.
Yeah.
The only reason he wasn't deported is because we were lame, we didn't have the resources, and we didn't do it, which is the truth for 20 million illegals. The only controversial piece about this guy is that his order of removal said just not to El Salvador, because he's claiming he'll get killed by gangs there. That's it. That's what they've thrown their lot behind. I do want to get to the larger issue, though. You're right over the target. How Americans are struggling with, well, what is required? Because we know there was no due process when they came into the country for us.
Right.
When it comes to our rights to be safe and not have to put them on the public dole and pay for their lives and their health care and all this. However, here's the thing. They don't get the same due process as an American citizen would before we took away their liberty in any way, whether it's for trying to deport them for some reason or putting them through the criminal justice system. And what appears to be true in the immigration context, what is true is it's a much lower level of, quote, due process that they're entitled to. And what most people don't know, including Terry Moran, who was one of the lead anchors over at ABC, and I'm going to show you the soundbite of him and Trump, is that in many cases, no due process is okay. None. It's under this thing called expedited removal,
right,
which all presidents have used. Trump expanded expedited removal, and you don't get any hearing under it. It was used even under Biden to say, at the border, okay, if you show up, we can just turn you around. We don't have to give you a hearing.
Yeah.
And the only way you get a hearing is if you say, no, I'm an asylum seeker.
Right.
And that's true under Trump too. But let me just show you Terry Moran, who clearly has waded into legal matters that he is not qualified to speak on, because he tried understanding what I just explained to be the law. Watch him try to pin down Trump. And Trump, I'm telling you, Trump is a clever mofo. Just when you think he's like focused on like the UFC and like his polls, he knows the nuances even of laws like this. Watch where he dodges on this attempt to pin him down. He knows about expedited removal. He knows about the lower standard on due process, and he doesn't allow Terry Moran 1 inch. It's SOT 9.
Do you acknowledge that under our law, every single person who gets deported gets a hearing first to make their case?
Well, are we talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you aren't deporting citizens at this point.
Well, let me ask you, did they get hearings when Biden allowed 21 million, because I think the number is 20 million people to flow into our country?
But
did we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first?
Well,
Do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this. If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out
The
to
law
give
is the
21
law,
million?
sir. The law is the law, and you are
The law
sworn
doesn't
to
say anything
uphold it.
about trials.
No, not trials, hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country
Right.
illegally.
And
We
there's-
have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major
I'm
trial
not
for
saying
every
major.
person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. Jake.
Right, so
we have to get them out,
They're
and we have to
bad
get them
guys,
out fast.
Really bad guys. But in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out.
Trump was right with every word.
Yeah.
Terry Moran was in the wrong. I don't know whether he's a lawyer or not. I am. I practiced law for 10 years and covered the Supreme Court for 3. It is not true that everybody gets a hearing. It is not the law. Just Google. Go ahead and don't take my word of it. Google expedited removal.
To me, it's not even necessarily a legal issue. It becomes a little bit, for me, a human issue in the sense of, I get it. They came in the country illegally. But that's our fault. That's our fault to a degree for not having the right setup. And if I'm having a horrible life somewhere else and I know I can get into this country and it's like, well, the guys before me, they were wrong. Like they set this up and you didn't get in fairly. And you've been living a very productive life here, and you've made the most of it to upend it and send it. And I'm not saying that's what we're going through. That just goes back to you better be right. Like, and I'm not saying that's the legal. Like Trump may have every legal argument to be like, sorry, you're gone. But reversing time to be like, well, you shouldn't have gotten in here. And even though you came for the right reasons, the American dream and all this stuff, now you're gone because the last guy shouldn't. That's where I get. So you just got to be right. And I don't know how to do it because he's right. The trials, the time, all of it. And it's just a moral issue that I wrestle with a little.
Tariff wars, stubborn inflation, no wonder gold has been routinely hitting all-time highs. And volatile markets like the one we have now don't sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. You can take control and safeguard your savings. This is why so many Americans today are turning to Birch Gold Group. They have helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. Is it time for you to hedge against economic instability with gold? To learn how to own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account, just text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Again, text MK to the number 989898. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, Birch Gold has helped so many protect their savings with gold. It took us decades to get into the tangled mess they're trying to unpack now in D.C. How long is it going to take to get out of it, and at what cost? Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.